My name is Eddie Carter. I'm 44. I sell shop equipment, lifts, balancers, air tools. The kind of stuff no one thinks about until it breaks. I live just outside Milwaukee in a house I bought 6 years ago, thinking I'd finally found solid ground. A place with a 2-car garage, a finished basement, and a patch of lawn I mow every Sunday like clockwork. I thought I was building something permanent. Turns out I was laying bricks on sand. The girl who broke me didn't even flinch when she did it. She laughed. Sarah, my stepdaughter, Mandy's only child, 17 going on 30, full of fire and scorn. She used to call me Eddie with this fake politeness, like I was some maintenance guy who overstayed his welcome. Lately, she doesn't bother with politeness, just contempt. The night it happened, I was bone tired. I'd spent the day hauling 2 pallets of compressor parts for a chain that still owed me for last quarter's delivery. Came home with road salt crusted on my boots, legs aching like someone had poured cement into my joints. All I wanted was sleep, peace, the kind of silence a man earns after a long day. Instead, I got war. Started the way it always did. Music pounding through the floorboards, voices shouting over each other. That high-pitched laughter I've come to associate with broken boundaries. I checked the time. 3:12 a.m. I got up, slipped on the jeans from the day before. Didn't even bother putting on socks. The hallway was a minefield. Empty beer cans, makeup-smudged Solo cups, a half-eaten slice of pizza balanced on the banister. I made my way to the living room. 5 kids I'd never seen before. One passed out on the couch. Another flipping through the TV like it belonged to him. The others looked up at me. Blank stares, no fear. Just entitlement. Like I was the intruder in my own home. Then she walked in. Sarah. Hoodie half-zipped. Eyeliner smeared. Holding a vape in one hand and a slice of leftover lasagna in the other. She saw me and smiled. Smiled. You again, she said. Like I was some annoying neighbor always asking her to turn the volume down. Chill, Eddie. It's not even a school night. I didn't speak. Not yet. She walked past me, flicked the lights on brighter, and turned to face me from the bottom of the stairs. One of her friends whispered something behind her, and she laughed, loud, sharp, theatrical. Then she pointed her vape at me like a weapon and said it. You don't control me. You're temporary. Just like that. No build-up. No warning. Just 6 words that gutted 7 years of sacrifice. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't ask her what the hell she meant, because I already knew. She wasn't just angry. She believed it. She believed I was a placeholder. A man with a wallet and a signature. A name on the deed, not on her heart. I walked past her, back to the office. Shut the door. Opened my laptop. The screen lit up like judgment. That's when I opened the folder. The one labeled contingency. Buried in there were documents I'd hoped never to touch. Rental templates. Utility account numbers. A property management contact I knew from a client in Waukesha. And the deed. The house in my name only. Something Mandy had agreed to early on. Just in case, she said. Back when she still saw me as her partner. Not just the guy who fixed the water heater and paid the property taxes. I began drafting the contract. Not to evict Sarah. I'm not that cruel. But to redraw the lines. Strip back the illusions. If I was temporary, then she was a guest. Let me rewind. When I met Mandy, she was fresh off a divorce. Her ex had vanished halfway through Sarah's 10th birthday party. Said he needed to find himself. Then found someone else instead. Left Mandy with a car loan, a second-hand couch, and a daughter too smart for her own good. I wasn't looking for a family. I just liked Mandy's laugh. It cracked through her weariness like sunlight on rust. She didn't ask for much. Said she didn't believe in fairy tales. We dated for a year. I started showing up more. Fixed the leaky kitchen pipe. Replaced the deadbolt. Took Sarah out driving when she turned 16. Bought her a tool set and taught her how to change a tire. Thought maybe she'd feel proud, having some knowledge that wasn't filtered through YouTube. She never said thank you. Not once. Just rolled her eyes and said, "My real dad doesn't make me do this stuff." Still, I stayed. 2 years in, Mandy and I got married. Small ceremony. No church. Just a backyard, folding chairs, and a cousin of hers officiating with a voice like gravel. Sarah barely spoke that day. Sat at the edge of every photo, like a ghost haunting a party she didn't want to attend. But I thought time would fix it. I told myself that, over and over. Time would smooth the edges. Time would show her who had really stayed. I paid for her braces, covered her car insurance, put gas in the tank, paid off the balance when she cracked the bumper pulling into the garage. Every school trip, every birthday, every emergency that wasn't one. I handled it. Quietly, consistently. Mandy thanked me sometimes. In private. Never in front of Sarah. The worst part? I never asked to be her dad. I knew that word was sacred. I just wanted to be her adult. Her ally. Her home. Instead, I became her enemy. The man who said no when no one else would. The man who asked her to take the trash out once a week or reminded her that electricity isn't free. The man who tried to set boundaries in a house where I was apparently just a guest. There were signs. There are always signs. You just learn to ignore them until they choke you. Like when Sarah started calling the house my mom's place. Not our house. Not home. Just hers and Mandy's. Like I was some long-term visitor crashing in the basement. Like I was renting her presence. Or when I overheard her on a FaceTime call with her friend. He's not even my real dad. He just thinks he runs the place because he pays for everything. Because I pay for everything. Mortgage, internet, groceries, Netflix, the damn Bluetooth speaker she blasted at 3 a.m. And still, temporary. That word echoed through my skull as I typed. I started itemizing, drafting the agreement, removing her name from the shared Wi-Fi, listing the room as a rental space month to month. Terms: respectful volume levels, responsible guests, shared responsibility for utilities. Termination clause, 30 days notice. It wasn't petty. It was surgical. I wasn't forcing her out. I was honoring her request. No more illusions. No more blurred lines. No more pretending that the title of stepdad came with automatic loyalty. She drew the border. I was just building the fence. You never expect the ghost to knock. But that's what he did, Tom. Sarah's biological father. The man whose name I saw exactly once, on a custody paper Mandy kept folded in the back of her tax files. A signature scrawled like he was in a hurry to forget them both. He showed up in a leather jacket that hadn't fit in a decade, smiling like he belonged, like we were old friends. Sarah answered the door. I watched from the hallway as she launched herself into his arms like a little girl, voice rising, face lit. For once, she didn't look bored, bitter, or half asleep behind that blue screen she was always glued to. She looked alive. He hadn't sent birthday cards in years. Never paid a dime for school. Didn't contribute to her braces or her first car or the gas that kept it moving. He was a myth, a bedtime story rewritten over and over until the villain became the hero. A stranger granted sainthood for simply being absent. "Hey man," he said to me, tossing his keys onto the entryway table. "Nice place." I said nothing. That night, the three of them had dinner together. Mandy laughed at his jokes. Too hard. Sarah showed him videos on her phone, let him tease her about her playlist. It was like watching actors pretend they still belong to each other. Like the last 7 years hadn't existed. I cleared the dishes. No one thanked me. Then I found the messages. It wasn't snooping. It was right there on the shared tablet in the living room. Notifications pinging one after another. A string of texts from a contact saved as Dad. I scrolled. The first one hit like a slap. "You don't owe that guy anything. He's not your real dad. You make your own rules. He's just temporary. Remember that." I stared at those words for a long time. Not because they shocked me, because they didn't. Sarah had been parroting someone else's language all along. It wasn't rebellion, it was reinforcement. Tom had filled her head with poison, not because he believed it, but because it was easier than taking responsibility. Easier to undermine me than to match me. I sat in my office again. This time not to draft, but to sever. I printed everything. Utility bills with my name, insurance policies, property records, Sarah's car title. I highlighted every line that showed what I owned, what I paid for, what I alone had made possible. I stapled the pages and slid them into a manila folder. Then I opened the rental agreement again. I removed every trace of sentiment from the wording. No mention of stepdaughter. Just occupant. Tenant. A 30-day termination clause. Strict noise rules. Shared responsibility for damages. Rent. $450 a month, below market, but enough to make a point. I even drafted a cover letter. 2 sentences. Sarah, as you've clarified that I am not a parental figure in your life, I am respecting that request by reframing our relationship accordingly. Please review the attached documents and return them signed within 5 business days. I signed it E. Carter. Not Eddie. Not your stepfather. Just a man honoring a transaction. The next day, Tom was gone. No goodbye. No thank you. Just disappeared with the same ease he arrived. I don't know where he went. Neither did Mandy. She didn't ask. But his echo stayed. Because a week later, Sarah threw another party. This time, she didn't even pretend to hide it. There was a flyer on her Instagram. A flyer. She named our address. Called it The Spot. Her words, not mine. Neighbors called me while I was still at work. I drove home at midnight. Bottles littered the driveway. Someone had vomited on my porch steps. There were beer cans in the flower bed I had planted myself. And inside, at least 15 people packed into the living room, dancing like the floor didn't belong to someone else. I walked in. She saw me, didn't blink. "You're early," she said, like I was a rude guest. I told her everyone had 10 minutes to leave. She rolled her eyes, arms crossed. "This isn't your house anyway," she said. "It's my mom's. You just pay bills." It was quiet after that. You could hear the fridge humming behind her words. I didn't answer. I just turned and walked back to my office. This time, I printed 2 copies of the agreement. The next morning, I made coffee. Sat at the kitchen table like it was any other day. Waited. When Sarah came downstairs in a hoodie 3 sizes too big and poured cereal like nothing had happened, I slid the folder across the table. "What's this?" "Your lease." She laughed, choked on her spoon. "You're insane. You said I'm not your parent. I'm accepting that." She flipped through the pages, scanned the rent line, and her face tightened. "You're making me pay to live here?" "No. I'm giving you what you said you wanted. No control. No rules. Just adult responsibility. You can decline. But then you'll have 30 days to find another place to stay." Mandy came in halfway through. Her face turned pale when she saw the folder. "Eddie, please." I didn't look at her. She's not a child anymore. She made that clear. She didn't mean it. She repeated it. She believes it. I'm just catching up. Sarah stood. The chair scraped the floor like a scream. "You're just mad I don't see you as my dad." "I'm not mad," I said. "I'm done pretending." She stormed out. Mandy didn't follow. She sat down instead, quiet. I sipped my coffee. That day, I removed Sarah's name from the utilities, changed the Wi-Fi password, locked the thermostat, shut off her phone line. Not out of cruelty, out of honesty. I simply stopped pretending we were family. 2 days passed. No apology. No conversation. Then she packed a duffel bag. Left a note on the counter. "Staying with Dad. Dad." Mandy cried. I didn't. I just waited. Took 10 days. Then Mandy came into the office and held her phone out, screen trembling in her hand. "She wants to come back." I read the message. "Tom wants me to pay rent." Took my car keys. Said if I'm not paying, I need to cook, clean, and drive him around. He says I'm his little helper now. "Can I come home?" I nodded. "Of course." Sarah came home the next day. No big scene. No tears. Just her and her duffel bag. Eyes lower than I'd ever seen them. She didn't speak. Just stared at the table. I slid the rental agreement across again. "This offer still stands," I said. "You're welcome to stay, under adult terms. Same ones as before. She looked up. Her lips parted, but no words came. Then she signed. Just like that. The air in the kitchen changed the moment she signed. Sarah didn't say thank you. She didn't even look at me. Just picked up the pen like it weighed nothing, scribbled her name on the last page, and pushed it back across the table like it was just another school form her mom forgot to sign. Then she stood, walked to the stairs, and disappeared into the room I used to call hers. But something had shifted. Not in her. Not yet. In me. I looked down at the signature. Slanted, rushed, careless, and felt no satisfaction. No vindication. Just a quiet, hollow sort of peace. The kind you find at the bottom of a trench, when the fighting stops not because anyone won, but because there's no one left standing. Mandy sat across from me, fingers tight around her coffee mug. Her eyes didn't rise from the table. "She's just a kid," she whispered. "She's 17. She made her choice. She didn't mean those things. She meant them enough to say them more than once. And that's all I need." Mandy didn't answer. She never did when the truth got too sharp. Sarah's first week back was silence. She moved like a tenant. No small talk. No fake smiles. She made her own meals badly. Burnt toast. Overcooked pasta. Left the stove on once and I had to remind her that gas doesn't forgive. She left laundry in the washer for 3 days until it stank. Then tried again. Watched YouTube tutorials with the volume down. Her clothes turned gray. Shrunk. Still, she didn't ask for help. Not once. I changed the Wi-Fi password again after she invited 2 of her friends over without warning. They stayed too long, laughed too loud, left an empty soda bottle on my end table. I told her the next morning, "Friends need to be cleared ahead of time, like any lease agreement." She didn't argue. She just nodded. There was something different in her silence now. Less venom. More calculation. Like she was learning a language she had refused to speak for years. Respect. The second week, she left a sticky note on the fridge. "Rent will be late. Payday is Friday." That was all it said. No apology. No excuse. But it was honest. It was the first honest thing she had offered me in a long time. I accepted it. That Friday, a folded 20 and a 10 appeared in an envelope marked rent. She slipped it under my office door. I didn't say anything. Just updated the spreadsheet I kept for our household expenses. I added a line. Tenant paid partial rent. On time after payday. Sarah's name wasn't on the sheet. Just tenant. We weren't father and daughter anymore. We weren't even pretending. One evening, 2 weeks later, I heard a crash from the garage. A low curse followed Sarah's voice. I stepped outside and found her crouched beside her car, face red, oil splattered across the floor. "What happened?" I asked. "Thought I could change my oil," she muttered. "Watched a video. Forgot to put the drain pan in the right spot." I stared at the mess. Black streaks pooling on the concrete I had power washed last spring. Could have yelled. Could have told her she had to clean it or lose part of her security deposit. Could have reminded her that the lease included reasonable care of shared property. Instead, I handed her a rag. "Get the jack. We'll fix it together." She didn't thank me, but she listened, watched, handed me tools when I asked, didn't check her phone once. When we finished, she sat on the floor beside the wheel well, wiping her hands on a towel. The silence stretched, but not the hostile kind. It was tired, human. Then, out of nowhere, she said it. "Do you still think about it?" I didn't look up. "About what?" "What I said," she replied. "You're temporary." I paused, then nodded. She didn't flinch, just stared ahead. "I didn't mean it like that," she said quietly. I was mad. Tom. He made it sound like you were trying to replace him, and I was stupid enough to believe it." I didn't reply. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a folded receipt. Oil, filter, rags, funnel. She set it on the workbench. "I paid for it myself," she said. That was her way of saying she was learning. Not sorry. Not sentimental. But accountable. We didn't hug. There was no music swell, no emotional breakthrough. Just two people who used to be something they never quite named, sitting side by side in a cold garage, watching oil drip into a tray. But that night, after she went to bed, I sat down at my desk, pulled out the manila folder, the same one that held the rental agreement, the utility revisions, and the printed screenshots from her messages with Tom. I added something new: sticky note, changed oil, no leaks. Tenant asked questions. Listened. It wasn't a victory. It was a record. That's how I started seeing it. This whole house. Not as a home but as a ledger. Transactions. Agreements. Boundaries. The myth of unconditional love had cost me too much. So now I documented everything. If Sarah wanted to build her life on independence, then I would let her. Brick by brick. Failure by failure. With no safety net but the one she stitched herself. A few weeks later, she brought groceries home. Just for herself: frozen meals, instant coffee, off-brand cereal. But she used her money. Bagged it. Carried it. Stocked it. Later that night, I found another sticky note on the fridge. I used some of your salt. I'll replace it. It was small. Ridiculous, maybe, but it said more than any apology ever could. Mandy noticed the shift too. She's calmer now, she said one night as we sat on opposite ends of the couch. She's accountable, I replied. Mandy looked at me, something unreadable in her eyes. Guilt, regret, or maybe just surprise that the cold math of boundaries had done what years of pleading couldn't. She still needs a father, she whispered. No, I said. She needs to become someone who can recognize one. And that journey wasn't mine to take. It didn't happen all at once. Growth never does. Especially not when it comes from the kind of wreckage we left behind. Sarah lived here, but we never said she moved back. There was no re-entry. No clean reset. Just two people who had burned down the illusion of family and decided, silently, to rebuild something else. Something colder, but steadier. Every month she paid rent. Sometimes late, but never without explanation. If she missed, she'd leave a note. Double next Friday. Tips were garbage this week. And she'd follow through. No excuses. No begging. She worked at a cafe 10 minutes from the house. 5 a.m. Shifts. Black apron, tired eyes. I'd see her stumble in just as I was heading out. Shoes soaked with winter slush. Sometimes she left a pastry on the counter. No note. No smiley face. Just a croissant or a muffin in a paper bag. I never thanked her. She never asked for one. It was a system. She cooked for herself. Burnt chicken. Undercooked rice. The smell of failure wafted through the vents some nights. Other times, the kitchen was spotless. Sponges lined up like soldiers, sink bone dry. It was like watching her relearn how to live in a house that no longer coddled her. She bought her own detergent. Bought her own toothpaste. Didn't ask for rides even when the temperature dropped below freezing. One day I saw her scraping frost off the windshield with a loyalty card. I opened the garage, handed her a real scraper. No words exchanged. That was the extent of our language. Tools passed between us. Quiet tasks. No praise. No affection. Just motion. Mandy stayed out of it. Mostly. She cooked her own dinners now. We didn't eat as a family anymore. That stopped the night the rental contract was signed. The dining table became her laptop desk. Mine stayed in the office. Sarah ate standing up or not at all. But once, I found her sitting alone at the kitchen table with a notebook open. Budget sheets. Grocery lists. An envelope marked utilities. She had a calculator app open and was writing with a pen that kept running out of ink. She'd scribble, shake it, then try again. I didn't interrupt. But the next morning, I left a fresh pack of pens beside the toaster. She didn't say anything. But the next rent envelope had the usual cash. And a pen. Clicked shut. Left beside it. A message returned. It went on like that for almost a year. A strange choreography. Two people orbiting the same space, trying not to cross paths but still handing each other tools, food, numbers. Once she knocked on my office door. Not to argue, not to cry, but to ask how income tax worked. I explained. Slowly. She took notes. When she left, she said, "Thanks." Just that. But her voice didn't have the sharp edge it used to. It was flat, tired, human. One Saturday, her car wouldn't start. Not a battery issue. Something deeper. She didn't ask for help. Just popped the hood. Stared at it like it might blink first. I walked out, tools in hand. "You can do diagnostics," I said. "But not if you don't know the sound of failure." She raised an eyebrow. "Is that a metaphor?" "No. Just rust." We fixed it. Together. Still no hugs. Still no jokes. But I noticed she stopped calling me Eddie when she referred to me in front of Mandy. She just said him or he. And somehow that hurt less. Because I'd stopped needing her words. What mattered now was the ledger. The contract. The lines I'd drawn in permanent ink. A year to the day after I handed her that first rental agreement, I found her in the driveway again. This time she was under the car. Oil pan in place. Funnel ready. No YouTube videos paused on her phone. Just tools. Grit. Focus. I watched for a few minutes before she noticed me. "Almost done," she said. "I didn't strip the threads this time." "Good," I replied. She tightened the cap, slid out from under the car, and wiped her hands on a rag she brought herself. Then she looked up, not with challenge or shame, but something else. "Would you check it?" she asked. I didn't smile, but I nodded. We went through it, dipstick, filter, torque. All solid. She didn't miss a step. She had learned. After we finished, she stood with her hands in her pockets. Then she said it. "I know I can't take back what I said. I know you don't forget things." "True. But if I hadn't said it, you wouldn't have made me grow up. You'd still be fixing everything for me." I didn't reply. She looked away. So, in a messed up way, maybe it was the best thing I ever said. Silence hung between us. Then she added, softer, "Thanks for not kicking me out." I didn't answer. Not because I was cold. Because I knew the words would do more harm than good. Sometimes the best thing a man can do is say nothing. Later that night, I went into the office. Pulled out the manila folder. The contract was there, creased from wear. Stains on the corners. But the signature still held. I added a note. Oil changed. Asked for help. No mistakes. Thanked me. It read like an invoice. But in truth, it was a record of something more costly than rent. Growth. Pain. Distance. And dignity. Mandy knocked on the door an hour later. She looked older than I remembered. Her voice was quiet. "She's changed. She had to. She's not a bad kid." She wasn't a kid. That was the problem. Mandy walked in, sat in the chair across from my desk. A place she hadn't occupied since the night Sarah walked out. "You were right," she said. "About the lines. About respect. I let her treat you like an outsider because I was afraid of conflict. I kept waiting for the family to form on its own." I didn't answer. "I failed you," she whispered. I looked at her. Not with anger. Just clarity. "No," I said. "You failed her. Because you let her believe there were no consequences." Mandy's eyes welled. She looked down. Said nothing. We sat in silence for a while. Then she asked, "Is there a way back? For any of us?" I didn't know how to answer that. I still don't. Because there's no script for what happens after respect returns. But love doesn't. The contract stayed. We never rewrote it. Sarah never asked to tear it up. She just lived it, month after month. And I let her. Because sometimes, family isn't who you raise. It's who learns. It's been 18 months now. Sarah moved out last month. Got an apartment with a coworker. Left a note on the counter. "Thanks for letting me fail without throwing me out. P.S. I left the rent for this month anyway. Thought it was right." I found a second envelope taped to the folder in my office. Inside was a receipt for a tool set. A new one. Not the one I gave her at 16. That one was probably long gone. But this one had a tag. "For the next girl you try to teach." I don't know if I ever will. What I know is this. I stopped being the man who begged to be seen. I stopped performing sacrifice for people who didn't ask for it. I stopped paying for the illusion of love. I became something else. Not her father. Not her enemy. Just a man with boundaries. With rules. With memory. And that was enough. Because sometimes, dignity isn't about how much you carry. It's about when you finally set it down. Now I ask you, was I cruel? Or was I the only one who finally told the truth? Would you have endured what I did? Or would you have walked out long before the contract was ever signed?